And here we come back to this. You wouldn't believe it. After the day after having the cam sensor die on the other car, I started, just driving this more now since it's running good, and scanned it the other day because it was acting a little funny. Because I don't have a check engine light in this car. I took the bowl out because of the EGR being deleted. But now my O2 sensor is gone out again. Longer than this. Apparently this one that I have run on it right now is actually an upstream sensor, not a downstream sensor, but it worked for a year as a downstream sensor. But this other one should be longer in cable length, and it's supposed to be an actual downstream sensor. I'm about to put another oxygen sensor on it. Amazingly, this car ran with no oxygen sensor code for about 9 months using a upstream oxygen sensor as a downstream oxygen sensor. But now we've got one that's actually meant for this car that should be plenty long enough this time. Because before the wire was stretched. I mean, like, it was at tension the whole time. All right, well, excuse me if I sound bad. I currently am recovering from the COVID, or the wushu flu. Well, I finally figured out what was wrong with my little car going through all those oxygen sensors. These are the wires that went. Here's the oxygen sensor plug. I'm going to have to try to reuse it because I can't find any. So yeah, these are the wires that came off of it. And this is exactly how they were when I pulled them out of the wrapping and the binding. I don't know how in the hell this car was working at all. I feel bad that I was demanding so much of that car when it was trying to run with this shit. And I'm kind of wondering if I want to go through the whole rest of the engine harness here. I don't really, because you come up here and it gets better, but the whole wiring harness is soaked in oil like there, and I think this is the culprit right here. I think all the oil was seeping from this into the harness, because even, let's see, that one doesn't have any. These, I know for a fact, yeah, these have oil in them. About every plug has oil in it. And then here, this is the crankshaft sensor that I put on it a while back. Well, the crankshaft sensor plug, I mean. And I had to break the shit out of it to get it off. These new designed ends that you have to replace your factory with, they really do not like coming off, apparently. Or this one's just super tight. But you know what? I'm not even going to replace this again because it still works technically. Because we had to get a screwdriver in there to pry it off. I'm probably going to open these back up and look at them. But yeah, I don't know if fixing this is going to be worth it or if it's going to work, or if I just need to maybe look into getting the Kinetics Creations harness, which I kind of want like bad, but I don't have the money to spend on it right now. Well, don't this look like a mess? Yep, that's my still working on my engine harness. I went to the junkyard today. I was unable to find a replacement plug, and I don't know how to unpin those. So we're just doing the best we can with what we got. This one right here is going to be the worst to try to repair. I was going to use, this was my grandpa's idea. I was going to use these wires to kind of try to keep it color coded, These are actually out of a computer power supply, but according to Google, mixing copper and aluminum wires, which these are, is not a good idea. So we're using some 16 gauge wire and trying to put it all together. My buddy sent me a bunch of these things. They don't work. It's supposed to be low melt solder in the middle of it, but it don't melt. And even using my soldering iron on it, it just turned to dust. So now I'm back to twisting the wires and heat shrinking them, to be honest. This isn't going to be a permanent fix, I know it, but I'm just going to start saving the money to get the Kinetics Creations wire and harness. Well, just got this back together. I've had to use 16 gauge wire because it's all I had other than the computer power supply wire that is aluminum, not copper. I got it all back together, and then I realized something, that I'd forgotten something. Yeah. So I'm gonna see if I can maybe cut slits in this rubber piece, and I just won't be able to use this piece, but I think I can still salvage this. Okay, so cutting slits in it with the X-Acto knife, it did work. So that's in there. Yes, we're not going to be able to have this piece, but I don't think we need it anyway. Now to wrap it up and pray to God it works. Alright, we're all wrapped back up. I didn't wrap this one. That's the alternator plug. I didn't re-wrap that one. I may before I reinstall the harness. There's the alternator wire, my O2 sensor wire. That was the biggest problem here. This is a replacement crankshaft sensor wire. I went ahead and undid my old connection job and redid it a little bit better. I've wrapped it all in loom tape upstream. I don't really know what that one, see how oily that is? But I think all the oil was seeping from my oil sending unit, which we're gonna change before we plug all this back in. That went to emissions. I don't use that. I could have cut it off. Went ahead and wrapped up some more stuff. Some that goes to my coal water temp sensor. I didn't really fuck with this. This is the cam sensor. I've had so many problems out of that shit over the past couple years that I am just not fucking with it. All this has been wrapped. My other plug to my ECU, this part's broken. And I wrapped up some of this stuff, so hopefully this will get us back on the road.